Imprinting theory is that during very vulnerable periods in our lives, one of which is childhood, there are imprints made on our behavior that persist across time. We're not doomed to them, but to change them, they usually have to be witnessed and addressed. If you grew up in an upper middle class or even higher household, maybe even middle class, these groups tend to have more individualism. Now, women are always going to be expected to be more communal than men, but children raised in these households are taught more to question authority, to push back, to learn to negotiate. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just different from how working class children are raised to obey, to listen to authority. Because of how working class jobs are set up, for job security, a lot of working class kids are taught just to obey. Just do it, get the job done. Part of that's for safety if it's in a blue collar job, and part of it is for trying to preserve that they don't have savings, they don't have social connections, they don't want to get laid off. Just say yes, do the work, and leave. It's not rewarded in white collar spaces. So that's really where my expertise is, and where I work with people is on navigating those cultural gaps for the people who do end up changing classes and moving up in their careers. But these imprints don't just impact people at work, they also impact their personal lives. There are gender intersections in the class conversation. So when people say, just financially take care of yourself, just stop shrinking, what they're describing is changing an imprint. Significantly easier if you have a class background that can help fund you, and if you learned the class capital and social skills to navigate making that happen, getting you into better positions, advancing your career. And if you also don't have these internalized beliefs that are already limiting your career about not negotiating, not speaking up, not advocating for yourself, because that is what you were told gives you stability. And if you have especially a poverty wound, even if you've gotten out of it, anybody who's had a big class transition can tell you that fear never, ever, ever goes away. Let me give you an example of how I've seen this play out with one of my clients at work. So a regular attendee of my group coaching calls, we'll call her Jane, started going to my weekly group coaching because she'd worked in higher education for a while, but she had just shifted to an elite private school. And she noticed the students were a different animal. They argued with her. They went around her to talk to people above her. They tried to negotiate their grades. She had been working in higher education for such a long time. She had never had this happen. Her authority had never been what a man is when he's the professor, but it had never been questioned like this. And she saw me on YouTube or TikTok and joined the coaching call. And she was like, it made me realize this isn't just about gender. This is a class difference. I am around a different class. And I was like, yes, you are running into. These are kids who have been raised to not take no for the first answer, to negotiate, even with their grades, and to know to call the social connections around the dean, the other professors, etc., to try to get their way. And at first, her responses were very deferential, which is what working class people are trained to do, especially women. Just comply, just try to make it easier. Even though the resentment's building, she really wants to smack them back. Not actual physical abuse, y'all, for the caveat. But to, knock them to the middle of next week, hypothetically, and then kick their ass on Thursday. But that doesn't work with this group. That doesn't work with elite groups. To them, that gives them more power. That's you spiraling. So we had to work together on how she could build social capital, how to respond to these people, how to assert her authority, how to handle these negotiations of what she thought was, I gave you a rubric, why are you trying to negotiate? She found, I'll put her testimonial here, which I have her permission to share, that of how she said this impacted her, that once she knew what the game was, it's not that she agreed with it, it didn't change who she was. It was a different toolkit of knowing how to approach these relationships. All of these things build because they were imprinted on us very, very young. The gender roles, class roles, the exhaustion's real. Rebalancing is necessary, I think. If we're serious about it and we want women to actually take up space, we have to be able to talk about the different ways that we have been raised and imprinted, not assume that they look the same for everyone or that homogeny is what's needed for success or equity.